Hello everyone. So lately I've been doing some sketching and I realized I really want to level up my side profile game. So today I thought I'd show you my process. First step is to find nice references, and Pinterest is always my go-to. I'm more comfortable with this sort of 3/4 direction displayed here, but that changes today. Here I am beginning with a loose circle to establish the skull, and I typically block in the nose bridge first. It acts as an anchor for the rest of the facial structure. I then sketch in 4 key guidelines using light broken strokes, what I like to call chicken hatchets. These help me divide the face and set placement zones for the eyes, nose, mouth, and eyebrows. I equally sketch in the neck early on. It helps serves as a grounding element. It influences how I place the rest of the features, especially in terms of posture and facial tone. You might notice that I tend to bounce around a lot while drawing. I don't always stick to one feature at a time. That's because I've learned I struggle when I try to focus too long on a single area. I end up losing a lot of proportion and forgetting the overall flow of the face. So instead, I jump back and forth, constantly checking on how each element relates to the others around them. One thing I intentionally added, even though it wasn't clearly in my references, was a jawline with a slight underbite. I used to default to this really clean, straight jaw, super symmetrical, almost too idealized for most people. But in reality, human faces are much more varied. So I've been practicing having the lower jaw extended slightly forward, just to break that habit and capture a more grounded, authentic structure. Kind of even similar to my own. Ears are, for some reason, another tricky area for me. Because I used to misalign them constantly when I was a beginner artist. But now, I make a point to check their position carefully. Anatomically, yeah. The ear tends to sit between the level of the eye and the base of the nose, but I refine that based on age or stylization. Since the sketch is meant to lean more realistic, I line the ear with the cranium, where the cranium ends and the jaw begins. Roughly that transitional curve that defines the human side profile. In general, understanding the anatomy behind the face is so important when trying to master side profiles. Without that foundation, it's easy for features to float or feel disconnected. I'm keeping everything in black and white for this session. There's just something about removing color that lets me focus more on structure, value, and contrast. It really forces me to think about form and depth without relying on color to carry the overall image. It's a great way to strengthen fundamentals and to practice using a monotone scheme. Shadowing the jawline is honestly one of my favorite parts that I've just developed over the years of drawing. It's super fun, yeah. There's just something really satisfying about sculpting the edge and adding just the right amount of depth to make it feel solid and structured, the jaw, I mean. It's like you're carving the face directly out of the page, especially in black and white, where shadows do all the heavy lifting. And just a quick materials note, I switched from my usual graphite pencil to a black pencil crayon when drawing the hair. This is because graphite can get really reflective and messy, especially with repeated layering. The pencil crayon gives a much smoother matte finish for the hair and the clothes, and I really like the texture that it creates. It also gives a stronger visual contrast between the hair and the face, which helps keep things more readable and less clumpy, because I suffer terribly from smudging. It's not even funny. And we're done. Now we'll be moving on to our next drawing. For this next sketch, I'm drawing a woman of color, and I want to be intentional about how I represent her features. I'm planning to make her nose and lips a bit bolder, fuller lips, a wider nose bridge, things that reflect real-life variation without exaggerating them into caricature. It's all about balance. I try to keep the proportions grounded in reality with subtle curves and thoughtful structure so the features feel powerful but still respectful and human. I've seen a lot of artists on TikTok and Twitter either give characters darker skin but leave the features super Eurocentric, Or they go the opposite direction and over exaggerate everything. Huge lips, flat noses, almost cartoonish, and definitely not in a thoughtful way. And yes, some black people do have very Eurocentric features. There's a huge range in the African diaspora, but a large majority like they don't always look like that, right? So when the only representation you see is either that or some over the top character, it starts to feel less like a style choice and more like laziness. Like the artists even try to learn or observe what common African features actually look like and apply it to their drawings. Honestly, it does matter. It sends a message about who's worth being drawn with care. For me, this is about learning to draw people in a way that feels respectful and real. Bold features are beautiful, but they still need the same care and structure as any other face would. It's not about exaggeration, it's about understanding. That's what I'm trying to study and capture. Now for the hair, I'm giving her a slick back bun that kind of looks effortless but takes forever to get right. Her edges are laid, smooth, and swoopy. It's a style that's sharp, clean, and full of intention, a very striking contrast to my own. I think people kind of underestimate how technical drawing textured hair can be. You really have to think about direction, volume, density, not just lines that go quickly. Especially with styles like buns and laid edges, there's still a mix of structure and softness that I find really fun to study. Alright, edges laid, bun secured, curls in place. She's done. Well, the portrait part at least. For the background, I gave them both stars. Tiny little stars scattered behind and in front of each of them. It felt like a way to link their stories, like they're both part of the same universe, but still shining in their own ways. Then I went over the stars with this rich blue Posca marker, not just to fill space, but to make those stars really pop and just give the background a glow that frames them both in a really beautiful light, making the contrast sharper and the page feel a lot more alive. It's like their energy is glowing against a sort of like night sky, but I was too lazy to make like the sky actually night. I added blue checkers, kind of a subtle grid that adds structure but still feels dynamic. And for a fun touch, I created a mini version of the gentleman I drew on the left. It's a little echo of him, but scaled way down. I kept the black and white still to keep that classic vibe going on, because I really enjoyed that monotone touch that initially I had for my drawings. But honestly, I wasn't happy with how his face turned out. It felt a bit very much off. So I gave him a mask, a little mystery never hurts. Here now.
A few moments later.
And to balance everything out, I'm adding another checkered grid at the bottom of the page. It kind of just ties the whole composition together and gives it a grounded feel, like a subtle frame that holds the whole piece basically together. And in the spirit of Y2K Appreciation Month, which, yes, I totally made up and I'm fully committed to, I'm adding a flip phone to the side of the page. One of those chunky yet extremely sleek early 2000s ones with way too many charms and sparkly decorations, except I don't have enough time to add the millions of charms and sparkly decorations. But it's got some nice little jewels and a tiny plush charm hanging off the antenna. Basically, if it doesn't look like it belongs in a teen magazine ad from 2004, I'm not done yet. It's a fun little side element, but it also adds personality to the whole spread. Like, yeah, we've got elegance, mystery, and emotion, and a bedazzled flip phone. Balance. And we're done! This page ended up being a mix of everything I love: texture, contrast, a little bit of nostalgia, and some spontaneous choices that somehow pulled together in the end. Honestly, I had no real plan going in, but I think that's just the fun of it. Anyways, I'm happy with how it turned out. Please like and subscribe, and have a wonderful day.
Yeah, boy!